The two sisters got married on the same day, but the husbands they married were vastly different. Originally, the younger sister married the young master of a big family, but who would have thought the young master went bankrupt on the wedding day itself? Meanwhile, the older sister married a newly rich nouveau riche. At first, the younger sister looked down on such a nouveau riche, but who would have expected this nouveau riche within just 1 year to have become the richest person in the city? He even took his company public. This situation made the younger sister very angry. Originally, when the two families sent the marriage proposals, the younger sister picked first, then it was the older sister's turn. The younger sister originally had the chance to choose the nouveau riche, so now she felt very regretful and jealous. So, filled with resentment, she chose to drag the older sister down with her. But who would have thought the two sisters actually went back to the day they picked the marriage proposals, just like in their previous life. The stepmother originally wanted the older sister to marry the nouveau riche and have the younger sister marry the young master, because the younger sister was the stepmother's biological daughter. But before the older sister could take the proposal, the younger sister suddenly appeared and took it away, and said she absolutely wanted to marry the nouveau riche. The older sister saw this and suddenly realized the younger sister had also been reborn. Previously, the younger sister only saw the older sister's surface glory, but didn't know how much suffering the older sister endured after marrying the nouveau riche. It turned out the nouveau riche family was superstitious about feudal customs. They believed to make the family prosperous and wealthy, they needed to use the blood of a husband-prospering woman for sacrifices. Coincidentally, both sisters had that husband-prospering fate, so whether it was the older sister or younger sister who married in the nouveau riche wouldn't mind. Seeing the younger sister rushing to accept the torment, the older sister didn't say anything and agreed to marry the young master. Finally, the wedding day arrived. The nouveau riche came early in the morning to pick up the younger sister, but the young master did not show up for a long time. This made the sister's parents a little unhappy. Even though the young master was a top city tycoon, he still couldn't treat the sisters so disrespectfully. But just then, a relative nearby suddenly saw the news. It turned out the young master's company went bankrupt yesterday. This confused everyone present. At that moment, the young master also happened to arrive at the sister's home, but he didn't come in a luxury car. Instead, he walked, and the young master admitted to being bankrupt. The stepmother was originally unhappy about the younger sister choosing the nouveau riche. Now, seeing the young master bankrupt, she was very happy, constantly praising the younger sister for making the right choice. But the older sister noticed something different. In the previous life, she hadn't observed the young master carefully. Now, looking again, the older sister found. Although the young master was bankrupt, his expression was very relaxed. This meant either the young master was pretending to be bankrupt, or he had full confidence he could make a comeback. Either way, it showed the young master was someone worth marrying, so the older sister didn't hesitate and still chose to marry the young master. But their father was very angry about the older sister's choice. But in the end, he still let the older sister marry the young master. And the young master, just like being bankrupt, actually brought the older sister to a shabby rental house, and also brought a butler along. But the young master didn't tell the older sister this person was his butler. Instead, he said he was his friend. The young master originally told the butler to find an older house for him, but who would have thought the butler found such a rundown house? This made the young master not want to sleep here at all at night. But the older sister said this house was fine. She even happily decorated the house. The young master felt very satisfied seeing that. He originally wanted to scare the older sister away with the bankruptcy trick, but the older sister's behavior made the young master interested in her. He even started to feel at home in this rundown house. The next day, he hurriedly went to get married with the older sister. Unexpectedly, just after they left the Civil Affairs Bureau, the butler immediately showed up with a group of people, and the bodyguards carried a large amount of money to give to the older sister. This surprised the older sister very much. Even the young master didn't understand the butler's actions, because the butler thought after the young master master married the older sister, he would tell the older sister the truth. Now the butler realized the young master planned to keep hiding it, so he hurriedly lied, saying this was fake, because the butler worked for a wealthy young master named Third Master. So these gifts were actually for Third Master, but the older sister didn't know that Third Master was actually the young master. The young master was the heir of the biggest wealthy family in the capital city. He came alone to this city to start a company. So even if his company went bankrupt now, he could still return home to inherit the family business. But the older sister didn't know any of this, and she even believed the lies of the young master and the butler. At that moment, the butler suddenly told the young master. Because he heard the news of the young master's marriage, grandfather had specially rushed over from the capital city. But today was the day for the older sister and young master to visit her parents' home. The young master had no choice. He could only lie and say he was going with the butler to see Third Master. Seeing this, the older sister didn't ask the young master to accompany her, and she told the young master to behave well, to try to get a chance from the young master to rise again soon. After the older sister returned to her parents' home, because she came back alone, she naturally faced ridicule again from her parents, younger sister, and brother-in-law. This time, the father was even angrier. He even said he wanted to cut ties with the older sister. The younger sister was very happy to see this. Actually, yesterday, after the younger sister went home with her brother-in-law, she had already discovered the secret of the nouveau riche brother-in-law, but the younger sister never thought of using her own blood for sacrifices, so the couple set their sights on the older sister. Now that the older sister was cut off by her father, that was even better. Then the younger sister and brother-in-law directly took the older sister to the basement, planning to use the older sister's blood for sacrifice. The older sister struggled continuously and even called the young master. But before she could speak, someone knocked the phone away. Although the young master didn't know what was happening, he heard the older sister struggling through the call. The young master immediately realized the older sister was in danger, so he couldn't continue talking with grandfather. He rushed to the older sister's home. At this time, the young master no longer wanted to hide his identity. Those who dared to hurt his wife, the young master would definitely make them pay a heavy price.